Hello again. Any understanding of the tensions currently seen in Britain and America between people of European and sub-Saharan African origin can really only be understood by looking at the idea of Afrocentrism. This is the theory that Western civilization is actually based upon the philosophy and intellectual ideas of black Africans rather than, as is usually supposed, Europeans and those from the Middle East. According to this set of beliefs, ancient Greece was a black culture, Jesus was black, and all sorts of things such as mathematics and formal logic were first devised by sub-Saharan Africans and only later spread into Europe. In short, it turns traditional history on its head. As it is presented now, the story runs as follows. Black Africans came up into Egypt thousands of years ago and brought with them a good store of ancient wisdom. They founded there a civilization which was the first to invent writing and carry out philosophical inquiry. This was the first civilization in the world, and from Egypt these new ideas spread to Greece, which was probably an African colony. Socrates was black. At about the same time, the Egyptian culture, accompanied by many of its people, was moving into the Middle East, so letting them learn to write and so on. Jesus was, of course, in this version of history, also black. The Greeks carried these African ideas and culture to Europe, and the Roman Empire was thus derived from that founded by Africans. This means that almost our entire civilization today, from Christianity to higher mathematics, stems from what the Africans invented. There are, of course, at least a couple of difficulties with this reading of history, one being that there's not a shred of evidence to support it. All the studies of Egyptian DNA show nothing from sub-Saharan Africa until about 800 years ago, when many black slaves were imported into the country. Older DNA, that from 3,000 years ago for instance, does not have any sub-Saharan DNA at all. The indications are that the ancient Egyptians were really a combination of people of Middle Eastern ancestry and also quite a bit of European heritage. They certainly weren't sub-Saharan Africans or black. This is where one of the tenets of critical race theory, about which I've spoken lately, comes in. A major plank of that system of thought is the idea that personal feelings and storytelling are the best ways of establishing the truth of this or that hypothesis. The Afrocentric view of human history is a marvellous story of mythic grandeur, and the fact that there's no evidence to support it doesn't affect the beliefs of those who follow it. In a few days I shall be looking more at the things which make it very difficult to discuss anything sensibly with the kind of people who champion Afrocentrism. This must be done though, because this crank idea is ultimately responsible for a host of the mad things that we're all seeing lately on the television and also in the pronouncements of our politicians. The people making and propagating false views of history in television dramas or using expressions like institutional racism often don't even realise that they are following a particular ideology, but they are. The twin themes of Afrocentrism and critical race theory are behind an awful lot of what we're now seeing in the West.